So my hair is getting like really stupid long. I'm trying to see how long I can grow it out, just because I've had it short for like 6 or 7 years now. So it's just really long now, and I don't know how I feel about it. But it's kind of a challenge. A fun challenge. You know that one person, like a friend of a friend, who seems to have it all together and is living their life the way that they want, but then one day they let something slip that suddenly reveals that they're not as happy as they want everyone to think? That is Breakfast at Tiffany's. When I first put this book down, I originally came away from it thinking that it was just like a nice casual read about like a really interesting person that only took like an afternoon or two to parse through. It wasn't until I really let it simmer in my head for a little bit that I started to grasp how broad the sadness in it actually is. Breakfast at Tiffany's is the memories the unnamed writer-protagonist has of his eccentric and mysterious apartment neighbor, Holly Golightly. Holly is one of Truman Capote's, if not just literature's, most well-known characters, and for a really good reason. She is often compared to Jay Gatsby, like as a personification of the darker parts of the American dream. Not yet 19 at the start of the book, Holly is carefree and assertive and knows how to get what she wants in life. She formally introduces herself to the writer by inviting herself into his apartment via their connected fire escape after tiring of the date that she brought home for company that evening. The writer, like everyone else, is instantly charmed towards her. The way that she speaks, generously revealing her life to a practical stranger, is enchanting. But you get a sense that she's so free with her personal details because she has her real truth locked up tight. Over the course of the year the protagonist knows her, he gradually learns more of the dark past that she escaped from. One of the aspects I found most tragic was in searching so hard for a place to feel like home, Holly would be unable to recognize one if it ever found her, and moreover would be unable to create that sense for herself. The story itself, however, it didn't come across as a tragedy for me because she is the kind of person who is able to pick herself up and keep moving forward, and by the end of the book we even see her recognize these flaws within herself. Holly's character is one I can describe in a general sense, but it really is more about the subtleties within the writing, and it is so impressive how fleshed out Capote is able to write her in like such short a book. Of course this is an old book, and I have to mention that there is usage of slurs within it, and there were a few moments that made me kind of be like, ooh, yikes. My favorite part of this whole story is when Holly is recounting to the writer about how she had to convince her like friends/frenemy/roommates that there was no naughty business going on between her and her friend's beau. And you convinced her? That I hadn't slept with Jose? God, yes. I simply told, but you know, made it sound like an agonized confession. Simply told her I was a dyke. She couldn't have believed that. The hell she didn't. Why do you think she went out and bought this army cot? Leave it to me. I'm always top banana in the shock department. I do like reading passages from like these books I'm reviewing, but I don't really have like the voice for it, and I can't, I tend to like dialogue passages, but I don't have multiple voices. So when my voice doesn't fit, it just doesn't fit. Like I don't think I definitely don't work as like whatever Holly's character is, but there's that. Anyway, I just like that passage because I find it really funny. And it is kind of everything that Holly says is really just like a little capsule of her personality. I kind of wonder if you could tell which parts of these I'm rehearsing and which parts I'm just sort of like saying off the cuff. I'm sure you definitely can. I'm trying really hard to like remember what I'm writing down and then say it in like a genuine way. Or not genuine, but you know, not like, well, whatever. This might be kind of a weird thing to say, but Holly kind of had like this essence of a like proto-manic pixie dream girl. only in the sense that she's this really like fascinating girl that just kind of like shows up and like inserts herself into like the protagonist's life. But the difference is that the writer, first of all, is like very much like a non-character and is really just like a vessel to have Holly's story be told. And then also she like obviously like has her own very extensive life outside of him that he like hears about, and she doesn't change her ways to like fit to his needs. And it really is, like, he writes about her, to bring it back to this comparison, he writes about her the way that, like, Nick Carraway wrote about Jay Gatsby. As much praise as I'm giving this book, it doesn't actually, like, crack any kind of personal top 10 lists for me. But I do think that there is a type of person out there who this book would strike, like, every single, like, correct chord with them, and I really respect that. I think for me, as much as I recognize like how fun and like well developed Holly's character is, it's still just not really an archetype I can connect with. It's like there's like this screen in front of me where I can like see the quality, but I just like am not able to have any kind of connection beyond that. Of course, a lot of people do connect with it. Like you see, everyone knows Audrey Hepburn in the role as Holly. And like that's one of the things you see everywhere. Like she is very iconic in that role. I know I did see the movie, but it was years ago and I don't remember it at all, except that it wasn't the kind of story I was expecting. And I think that I was just kind of like too young, not like objectively too young, but I think I just like was kind of late in like understanding a lot of things. There is a lot of different stuff written about like how many different actresses and socialites have claimed to be like inspiration for Holly. The way that she's characterized in the movie is not very much related to how she comes across in the book, and that is mainly due to, I got super distracted because I just saw like a bird fly by. I think it was a mourning dove. Whatever. Okay. The way that Holly is characterized in the book is very different compared to the movie, and I think that really comes down to the fact that like Audrey Hepburn, so iconic, played her in the movie, whereas I read in multiple places that the actual person who inspired the character and who Truman Capote wanted to play in the role was Marilyn Monroe. From the book, I definitely get a sense of that. I don't really know anything about acting, but like when I hear about like oh, like this role was like meant for someone, in my head I'm kind of like, well, but if you're like acting, it's your job to like be someone else, unless you're like being typecasted, which like I was under the impression was like not a great thing. So like, what do you mean? But then at the same time, like when I read that like Marilyn Monroe was an inspiration for her, I was like, yes, I get it, like that makes so much sense. And not because I read that like Marilyn did like want the role because like she did spend like the last part of her career trying to break away from like the dumb blonde stereotype, and you know Holly is like not that at all, so it is kind of a shame. I did read that like originally I read that she didn't get the role simply because she was signed on with another studio. But then I read a different article that framed it more as like she lost out on the role because of Audrey. So I'm not totally sure like where like the what phrase am I trying to say? Where the coin falls on that? That's not a phrase. Whatever. I don't totally know like what the pure facts are on that. But yeah, back to the book. Read it. I do definitely recommend it, especially if you're looking for like a good way to like write character. That's a great source for it. And it isn't even like this long. It's less than 100 pages. This edition just like also happens to have 3 short stories in it, which admittedly aren't super memorable. I wasn't very into them. But so yeah, the actual book is only like 85 pages. So only this much of it. Okay, I'm gonna go think about how likely it would be for Holly to date me. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you at a different time for a different review. Bye. Let me double check, make sure I'm saying capote right, because I think I am, but you never know.
Capote.
Capote. All right, sick. I think I'm saying that right.